Hello, everyone, and welcome once more to this very special event, part of the series of talks organised by the British Union of Spiritist Societies to celebrate the 175th anniversary of the birth of the French Spiritist philosopher Léon Denis. I'm Adam Osborne, and I'm here on behalf of the British Union of Spiritist Societies, and today we're going to be joined by Daniel Steagall, who'll be talking about Léon Denis, a new perspective on pain, which is in fact the very last talk in this series of talks this year. So, this is now the 11th one. We started in January, and this is now the very last one. And like I said, this event has been organised by the British Union of Spiritist Societies, BUS, and is being streamed on both YouTube and Facebook in partnership with the Irish Spiritist Federation, Kardec Radio, and Kardec Group. So please make sure that you give a thumbs up, like, share, and tell everyone about this event, because we want people to be watching it. And don't forget to subscribe to these YouTube channels as well. And you can always send us a hello in the comments or chat area. Just let us know where you're watching from. So you should be able to see a live chat on your left if you're watching on YouTube, or maybe just below if you're on Facebook as well. And make sure that you stay with us until the very end, as we have obviously a few announcements from the British Union, and we will have the Q&A with Daniel. So let's introduce our guest. Daniel Steagall is from Sao Paulo in Brazil, where he has led activities for youth and has given lectures since he was a teenager. Daniel has a degree in business, another in physics, and is currently studying for an MBA in Chicago, America. And Daniel will today, like I said, we'll be talking about Léon Denis, a new perspective on pain. Remember, if you have any questions for Daniel or just want to say hello, please send them in the comments or chat area and we will get to them later. So please let us know if you're watching and where you're watching from. So let's bring on our guest. Hello, Daniel. How are you? And what can you tell us about this rather interesting topic?
Hello, Adam. Thanks. Hello, all. It's a great pleasure for being here to talk with you guys today. Thanks for Bas for the invitation, and just encouraging you to put questions on the Q&A. It will be very interesting to address them in the end. And it's an amazing topic that I'm going to talk today. Léon Denis, a new perspective of pain. It's a topic that it's a lot based in Léon Denis' book that you've studied a lot this time. That's Life and Destiny, and there are some chapters focused on pain. So we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. So let me start sharing my screen. I have some slides for the presentation to be a little bit more dynamic. Okay. So to start, let's get a little passage of Jesus at chapter 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. That's titled "Blessed Are the Afflicted." Kardec comments a lot the following speech of Jesus, where Jesus say that blessed are the meek, blessed are they which have hunger and thirst, blessed are they which are persuaded. So we read this at first and we feel it's a little bit strange. Like, how can Christ say that the blessed are the afflicted, where in our world we say the blessed are the ones that are rich, the ones that are happy. So how can we understand that? What's the role of pain and of affliction? So to address that, I propose our study to be divided in 3 blocks. So we need to address 2 little questions that they're not so little, that have been around for several times. So who are we? Next, what's our purpose? And finally, what's the role of pain? So let's jump into those 3 questions, and hopefully in the end, we'll have a good view of pain, particularly the ones that Léon Denis brings us. So let's start with the first question. Who are we? So to understand us, we need to see that the human complex is made up of three components: the spirit, the perispirit, and the physical body. Let's understand each one of those components. So let's start with the spirit. In question number 76 from the Spirits book, Kardec asks, how can we define spirits? And the definition the spirits give us is, we can say that spirits are the intelligent beings of creations. They populate the universe beyond the material world. So that's the definition. And if we continue reading that chapter, we can gather more information about spirits. So first, that spirits are the individualizations of the intelligent principle. It furnishes man with his principle of life and movement. Second, that the spirits are created by God, so they are particle of the divine essence. Also, it's incorporeal because its essence differs from everything that we label as matter, as atoms. It's indestructible because it preserves their individuality forever, eternity. It's unique and indivisible, so a spirit cannot be divided up. However, each spirit can radiate in different directions. So like the sun, that's only one, yet it radiates around the earth and in several spots. The more advanced the spirit is, the more close to this principle they can be. And finally, the spirit is a center of vibrations, and this is a very important thing because these vibrations that each soul has its own, so each spirit has their different vibrations according to their degree of evolvement. This makes them to communicate to each other. This makes them to attract their friends, their sympathies, and the loves across the universe. So that's what the soul is, and a superior soul is the one that's able to vibrate in unison with all harmonies. And just a little explanation here. The soul in question number 134 of Spirit's books is defined as the incarnate spirit. So spirit and soul are the same thing, but the soul is incarnated inside a physical body. And Léon Denis summarizes as the soul as the following. So is the soul which furnishes man with the principle of life and movement. The human soul is a willpower free of sovereignty. It dominates all the attributes, all the functions, all the material elements of the being. So that's a little bit of the first element that compose the complex of the humans. Let's talk very fast about the physical body. The physical body is made up of matter, so atoms, as we understand. It's an instrument for the spirit during the incarnation, therefore formed according to the necessities of current life in Earth. It's also temporary and perishable, so it disintegrates when we die, and it somehow overshadows the powers of the soul, so such as memory, transportation capacity, communication through telepathy. So there's a series of potentialities of our soul that are overshadowed by the physical body. And finally, we can talk about the perispirit. There is the relation between the spirit and the body. So the perispirit is our fluidic body made up of a semi-material substance that serves as a first envelope to the spirit and links the soul to the body. It pre-exists at the birth, serving as a mold for our physical body, and it survives to death, following with the soul during spiritual life. The perispirit is form and image of the spirit. It's the exact reproduction of the personal harmony and its light. So this is very impactful to think that everything we think and everything we act is helping build our perispirit. And if we think good things and if we are having good acts, this will translate in a very beautiful, lightning perispirit. And finally, the perispirit keeps the impressions of everything that happens in the past. So our thoughts, desire, passions, good and bad acts, even the details that we might forget of this current existence. For example, what we ate for breakfast 10 days ago that we might not remember, or some small things that we forgot. Everything, all the impressions are registered in the perispirit. So that's who we are, those three components, and this is very important for us to move on with the second question, that's what our purpose. So it's important to understand those two questions so that we can talk to pain. So to understand our purpose, I will recall the fact that the spirit is created by God. And as the spirit comes from God, we can say that the spirit is a particle of the absolute. It's a divine spark. It's created by love, and it's created to love. So the soul is united to the great universal soul, which is a vibration. So it's its own vibration, as I mentioned before. And the origin of this soul, as created by God, explains our irresistible needs of evolving. So the spirit has needs for light, for justice, for knowledge, for growing, to be in a better state. So if you do a lecture, you want to do a better lecture. If you have a job, you want to be promoted. So we are always aspiring for something higher and better. And this is law of progress. That's high humanity, and it's very important for us to understand what's our purpose. So let's talk a little bit. Question number 781 of Spirit Book. Kardec asks the spirits, is humankind ever permitted to halt the march of progress? And the answer is very categorical. No, but it can sometimes slow it down. So Kardec comments that since progress is a condition for human nature, no one has the power to oppose it. It's a living force that flawed human laws may hinder but not stifle. So in a certain way, no one can stop the law of progress, as progress is a law of equilibrium. And this means that that all the souls, when we were created, they contain all the germs for future developments. So we are destined to know everything, to acquire everything, to possess everything. And this is very powerful. For example, this means that we are going to be able to know more math or physics than the best mathematician or physicist that ever been in Earth, because we have the germ of mathematics there. We also be able to love people as Christ loved us, because we have the germ of love there as well. So everyone will one day become perfect and possess everything. And our lives, the objective to be of our lives, is the increasing manifestation of these germs of what there is of divine in us. So that's the main goal of each of our individual lives. And then Kardec asks in the question 116, if all spirits, if there are some spirits that remain forever in the lower orders. And the answer again, super objective, no, all will become perfect. So for every soul, no matter how low in scale they are, there is a great future prepared there. So this gives us the idea that there is a vast extent of resources that germinate in us, and perhaps we would be amazed if we knew all this potential that it's inside of us. Instead of being fearful and thinking that we are weak, we would understand our strength and feel that we really can do a good job creating our future. So that's the fundamental thing of what's our objective. And finally, we can step into the last question. That's the one I'm going to spend a little bit more time. That's what's the role of pain? And more importantly, what does Léon Denis talks a little bit about what's the perspective of pain? So Léon Denis starts with a observation that all living things on earth, so from animals to man, everything suffer. So the animal is subjected to an ardent battle for life, to find food, shelter. Also, sorrow follows us, each one of us. It's not exclusive of one person or the other. But nevertheless, as I just mentioned, God is love, and for love created the universe and formed the beings. So how can it be that there is so much pain if the law is really love? So it looks like a contradiction that we'll try to explain. So the approach Léon Denis uses is to think, what about if pain did not exist? So how would be the world if there was no pain? So first of all, he mentioned that if this happened, there would no be society. He said that the society was formed because we had threats of beasts. We had hunger, we had floods, we need to find food, shelter, and this made individuals to be band together with other individuals. And our common lives also require us to do common things, and that's where civilization developed. So all the arts, all the science, all the industries, everything developed to meet this need. Also, he mentioned that if there was no pain, love and work would not develop. How would be this? So the general tendency of man is to shut himself in a narrow circle of individualism and of self. And enjoyments, pleasure, idleness only tighten these limits. So if everybody had everything, you don't need to eat, you don't need you don't have the physiological needs, and you also do not suffer. So you have all money, you have all health, you have everything. There would be no point of working because you would not need to work. And you also have no point on helping others because no one would need your help. Everyone would have everything. So this would somehow tighten the circle of individualism and self that we just mentioned. So if our destiny is to march toward a goal without stopping our way towards perfection, and the joys would just immobilize us and make us stable and still stopped in where we were. The pain breaks this circle. So the pain comes and the sadness and the sufferings inspires the nobility of feelings. So if the soul lived free of evils, it would remain inert, passive, ignorant. So that's a reason of being of the pain. So it makes us love, it makes us help the others. When there is a person that we love that's close from us, a son, a wife, a mother, a brother, a friend that's ill or that needs something, it's where love appears, and that germs that we talked about flourish, and we try to help them somehow. So that's another thing. But doesn't stop like that. So Léon Denis also says that if there wasn't pain, there would be no warnings about excess that we make. So physical suffering can be an effort of nature to save us from excess. Without it, we would abuse of our organs, and sometimes we'll abuse into the point of destroying our body before time. So if we ate a lot and we had no bad feelings, or if we stood too much time awakened and slept so few and we felt nothing, we would destroy our body. And even if we, in fact, be able to damage the body until we are sick and ill, this pain can become beneficial if it causes us to realize and to detest the vices which caused this pain. So it's very important there. And the first thing that Léon Denis mentions is that if we suppress sorrow, we would suppress at the same time one of the most worthy things of admirations in our world. That's the courage of supporting and overcoming the pain. So every time that we support and overcome a challenge and something painful, it's when we feel good, we feel happy, and it's our path to heaven. But if we didn't have the pain, we would not have this good feelings when we overcame something. So that's a little bit about how nature works, right? When you have a challenge, you are initially unhappy. Sometimes you are revolt, but then when you climb the hill, you look behind and you feel very happy and joyful about all the things you've overcome, and everything that made you understand the truth and the learnings that you were able to achieve during the path. So as we can see, the world without pain would be very hard for us to make progress, for us to achieve the goal of being a perfect spirit. So once we have the pain, let's analyze some attributes and characteristics and utilities of this pain that Léon Denis mentioned in his 2 chapters that I mentioned from the book Life and Destiny. So first of all, sorrow is a law of education and equilibrium. Without doubt, the faults of the past fall upon us. Suffering is often the consequence of violation that we've made of the eternal order. However, if we notice that the pain is shared by all, we should consider that it's an agent of general development, a condition for progress. We see like very high hierarchical spirits that come here and in fact have some pain, also pass through challenging situations, but they are here to give us the example of how to overcome this. They are the missionaries. So we can generalize the pain as a law of education and equilibrium. And Léon Denis tells us, when someone asks him, why sorrow? Léon Denis answers, why do we polish the gem? Why do we sculpture the marble, or hammer the iron, or melt the glass? So everything that looks painful, it's something that's useful to polish the glass, the marble, the iron, and also to polish ourselves. So that's how it works. Second, sorrow resides in us. With or with our will, we can control it. So we have sorrow and pleasure that are 2 extreme forms of sensations, but both of them are less in the exterior and more in us. So I grew up hearing my mother said that like life is 10% what happens with us, 90% what we do with what happened with us. So we can train ourselves to regulate our sensation, discipline our feelings, control our sorrow and pleasure to limiting their effects. So we can leverage our willpower, so that we can overcome these things and take the pain to our advantage and make it as a mean of elevation to achieve our objective. A third thing that's mentioned is that God has placed beside rare and fugitive joys frequent and prolonged sorrows. So we have much more sorrows than joys in our planet. And this makes us realize that our world is a passageway and not a goal. So another role of pain is for us to realize that this is transitory, it's just temporary, is a passageway to get us to another state. A fourth point here is that in the measure that we advance in life, joy diminishes and sorrow increase. So as you get old, the body becomes heavier, then you come long hours of inaction and suffering. And this makes old people usually to enter into themselves, to review their lives, to make an analysis of what are the good things they did, what things they could have done better. And Léon Denis mentioned that this process is necessary for the soul in order that it may acquire the clear seeing judgment of the events of its terrestrial careers. So this helps with reflection and self-awareness. The weakness the body is, the strongest the spirit can be, and the free and more free the spirit can be. So this is another characteristic of pain. Another thing is that it relieves a heavy and regretful conscience. So how does this work? Sometimes we are, when we are in the other life, after we die, we have a conscience of everything that happened, and many spirits ask to have a new opportunity and to have sometimes a quick and painful reincarnation to rescue the past, to repair what they did wrong. So it's not a vengeance of the law, but it's a way for the soul to libertate itself from the suffering. So they could ask for coming back. So that's another utility of work. Also, it does not follow the law of retaliation. So it's not that you did something bad will need to happen to you necessarily the same way. And the social conditions would not, and the historic evolution would oppose to that. So for each of us, sorrow has a different method. It's varied as the individual, but it acts very efficiently in manner for each one of us. So it's a different kind of pain for each of us. Also, suffering will be necessarily as long as man does not think and act in harmony with eternal law. So while we are still selfish and still defend the personal interest when in our society, there will still need to be of pain. So to extinguish the evil society, we must elevate the human soul to consciousness of its role, make it understand that its fate depends upon itself, and that its felicity will be always proportional to the extent of its triumphs over itself and its devotion to others. So we really need to improve and make effort to make others to improve, so that we can liberate all the society from pain. And finally, it shows the power of the true faith. So Léon Denis says that in the moments of suffering, you can measure how robust a faith is, the faith of an individual, but also the faith as a philosophy or as a religion itself. So you can see the power and the value of philosophical theories and religious doctrines to see which one does the best job to comfort people in the case of pain, and how much individuals can be confident when they are passing through a pain situation. So that's an overview of some characteristics and utilities of pain that Léon Denis mentions. And after reading all of this, we might ask how Spiritism can help us in moments of pain. Like, how can I apply what I just learned? All these things seem very beautiful, but when I'm sick or someone close to me is sick, or where someone that I love dies, or when I'm having trouble or struggling, I'm feeling pain, how should I behave? How should I apply this in the real world? And Léon Denis helps us a lot on this. So let's give a summary of the Spiritism thought about this. So Spiritism offers us a reason of living and suffering, which makes us a life an objective worthy of the soul and of God. So we have a transitory life where we have some objectives here to improve ourselves, and that's the main goal of our current life. What are the recommendations that Léon Denis gives for men in those conditions? He says the following: Man, search everywhere upon your route for invisible beings, powerful and good, who are traveling beside you. In the difficult passage, mighty vibrations will sustain your trembling steps. Open your soul to them. Put your thoughts in accord with their thoughts, and soon you will feel the joy of the presence. And he continues: Learn how to suffer. I do not say seek sorrow, but when it comes and stands inevitably in your path, receive it like a friend. Learn to appreciate its austere beauty, to seize its secret knowledge, study its hidden works, and in place of revolting against it, associate your will with the aim fixed by sorrow, and seek to draw from its uh, study its hidden works, and in place of revolting against it, associate your will with the aim of fixed by sorrow, and seek to draw from it all the profit it can offer to the spirit of heart. Force yourself to be an example for others, and by your acceptation of it, your courage and your confidence in the future. And he finalizes, if in hours of trial we know how to watch the mysterious action of sorrows in ourselves, we would better comprehend the sublime work of education. Sorrow always strikes our most sensitive point. The hand which directs the chisel is that of an incomparable artist. It never wearies until all the angles of our characters are rounded and polished. So let's reflect on all that Léon Denis said. Our sorrow uh, makes us feel better and progress, and we should reflect on that so that we can become better and that we can make some progress. So when we have a pain, what we should do, we should not look for pain, so we should not try to hurt ourselves and should not seek for that. But when it comes, and it will come, because we are in a world that we need to progress, we should look at ourselves and see why I'm feeling this. What is this pain trying to teach me? Why it's hurting? What I should learn with this? And answering to this question and reflecting on that, uh, there could be some help in how you can learn with this pain. And we should never forget that some good spirits are around us and that are supporting us during our incarnation. And we can always call them and pray to them and ask them for strength, for support, so that they can help us to make progress, so that they can help us to evolve. So what we should do is call them and ask them to support us. And there are two things that can happen. One is we can have their intuition and answers can arise for us, or we can also have emergence of our conscience, because remember, we are spirits that lived a lot prior to this incarnation. So there are some things that can emerge to us and can make us feel comfortable and better. So that's the main story here. So we should understand that God is love. Spiritism does not come to the world to make us suffer or to say that we need to be unhappy. But it says that our goal is to progress, and the matter and the sorrow are means to get us to this perfection faster. Otherwise, would be stopped and still. And that's a little bit of the summary here. And now I'll be stopping sharing screen, and I'll be happy to address questions you might have for the Q&A. So Adam, feel free to jump in and put some questions here.
My microphone was muted. There we go. No, thank you for that. Very short and succinct. And I think that's very much in the way of Léon Denis anyway. He loved to just get straight to the point and say, look, no, come on. You've got things around you to help you understand things. So here you go, understand. So thank you for that. That was actually quite insightful. And yes, we have to remember, we have to go back to remember, especially from within Spiritism, where we come from, what we are. We are this spirit that's incarnate. We have the perispirit, etc., etc. So So anyone who's watching, if you have any questions or any hellos, please send them now. Now is your time for that. Let's put up the little banner so that people actually remember. There we go. So we have just a couple of people with us today. So let's say hello to Floriana, to Antonio, to Steven, to Marina, to Monica, Elizabeth, and Eduardo, and Valeria. Thank you so much for being with us today, this afternoon. Let's go now to the announcements on behalf of the British Union. If I just bring them up. I do apologize. Here we go. Now, if I actually add them to the screen, there we go. So here we go. Just a couple of short announcements. Obviously, do send any questions you have now for the Q&A. We'll come to that in just a moment. So Spiritual Light takes place every Wednesday at 9 p.m. with Charles Kempf, Elsa Rossi, Sylvia Gibbons, and Stephen Patozo, and that is on the Facebook and YouTube channels of the British Union of Spirit Society, the Irish Spiritist Federation, Kardec Radio, and various other places as well. And Time to Talk is a fortnightly live from the Spiritist Society of London, looking specifically at mediumship, and that takes place every other Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. here in London time, UK. And as I said at the start of the show today, this is the very last talk from this series of Léon Denis talks for the 175th anniversary of his birth. You can catch up on all the previous talks if you haven't seen them yet. Go over to the Facebook and YouTube channels of BUS, Kardec Group, Kardec Radio, and the Irish Spiritist Federation. And here you can see the covers of all those wonderful talks with Charles, Flavio, Vanessa, Umberto, Roberto, Munir, Dan, Emmanuel, Faye, Alexandri, and of course we have Daniel with us today already. And, however, next month, on the 11th of December, there will be a roundtable discussion with some of those speakers, with Alexandri, with Charles, Dan, Faye, Flavio, Umberto, Munir, Roberto, and Vanessa. So that will be on Saturday, 11th December at 4 p.m. on the same channels where you are watching us right now. So please make sure you come along and ask all the questions you have about these Léon Denis talks. From other groups here in the UK, our good friends, the Spiritist Society of Bournemouth, in conjunction with the Poole Christian Spiritualist Church, are still having their talks every couple of weeks on Facebook and YouTube, looking primarily at the Joanna Giangeli's series of, the psychological series by the spirit Joanna Giangeli's. Their most recent one was yesterday with our good friend Sylvia Gibbons from London, and so the next one will be on the 19th of November. We would like to remind everyone about the High Five charity campaign by us here at Kardec Group, which raises funds for two important charity groups in Brazil who help hundreds, and I mean hundreds of people from their local poor communities with the basic necessities such as food, housing, work, just the simple things. And we really need your donations, and I mean really need your donations. Please, 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 please. If you can donate just a small amount each month, that's what we want. We call it high five because, well, you know that feeling when you give someone a high five? That's what we want to give to others. So how can you help? Just go to www.kardec.org.uk/high5 to get more information about how to donate, more information about the campaign, about these two groups, which are Grupo Espírita Sheila from Salvador, Bahia, and Instituto Multirão from Curitiba, Paraná. And you can send us money directly, hit through us here at Kardec Group. We are a charity. We can accept your donations. You can send it direct by bank transfer, via PayPal, or if you're in Brazil or have an account in Brazil, you can help these charities as well. No, please, 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 they need our support. And you know what? You know how it is. Do you know? Do you want to know how you feel when you get support? That's how you feel. That's how you feel, and that's how these people feel when they get your support. So please, come on, £5 a month. That's not much. That's all we ask. So please go to www.kardec.org.uk/high5 straight after this live to make your donation. And of course, while you're there, you can find out about Insightfully Speaking, a podcast created by us here at Kardec Group, where I have my two wonderful co-hosts, Annie Sinclair and Umberto Schubert, and each time we are joined by some of these wonderful guys you can see on the slide right there. So, Charles, Dan, Natasha, Stefan, Tanya, Florencio Anton, he's the one who runs Grupo Spiritus Shayla, Flavio, Danusa, Ingo Meyer from Germany. That episode is not out just yet. It will be coming out very soon. And the director, Wagner Giacis. If you want to know what we've been talking about, just search for Insightfully Speaking by Kardec Group. You can find it on all the good podcast systems as well as on YouTube. In 2 weeks' time, there will be the second virtual International Spiritist Medical Congress. You can find more information about this by going to smainternational.org. So sma-international.org. You can find all the details about that event. That'll be on November 20th and 21st. However, ladies and gentlemen, we have an even bigger announcement, which, as you're with us, we'd love to share. Spiritism X will also be taking place on those very same days. This is the event by Kardec Group, our TEDx event, where we have short and insightful talks by very knowledgeable people. And our theme this year is Understanding Our Multidimensional Journey. And like I said, this is a TEDx style event, and this is going to be the third year of us running this event. The first year was back in 2019. Last year was online. The first year was face-to-face. If you have not seen these before, you can find the videos on the Kardec Group YouTube channel. So how do you find out more information about this event that we're having in 2 weeks from now? Yep, 2 weeks from now, we'll be having part of it exactly 2 weeks from now. Just go to spiritismx2021.eventbrite.co.uk. Spiritismx2021, the X is very important, .eventbrite.co.uk. And of course, when you register, you have the option of being entered into the prize draw. What is the prize going to be? Register and you can find out. And here are those 16 wonderful guests that we have lined up this year. So we have Alexander, Anaï, Annie, Charles, Dan, Flavio, Federico, Georgia, Umberto, Lolita, Luciani, Natasha, Pekka, Roberto, Sonia, and Susanna. And this event will be on YouTube on various channels, and we'll be announcing those channels very soon and split over 4 blocks. So Block 1, Saturday 20th of November at 1 p.m. GMT. Block 2 at 4:30 p.m. GMT. Block 3, that should be on Sunday, is going to be at 1 p.m. and Block 4 will be at 4:30 GMT. So please, we hope that you can come and join us. And of course, if you want any information about Spiritism here in the UK, you can contact the British Union of Spiritist Societies at www.bus.org.uk. That's bus with 2 S's, BUSS. You can contact them by email or find on Facebook or YouTube as well. And remember, most groups are still having their activities online, and you can find all the information about all British groups on the BUS website and contact them if you're interested in studying a little bit more. Okay, let's see who else has been saying hello. We've had someone else. Mardel Carmen, thank you for being with us as well. Eduardo, Elizabeth, Monica, yep. So let's see, we have a comment here from Eduardo who says, would be great if this spiritual stoicism proposed by Denis were understood and adopted in our societies. I think if more people understood Spiritism and especially the works of Léon Denis, that may help quite a few people. So some great talks, some thank yous. Oh, we have a question here from Antonio. Sorry, with a couple of spelling mistakes. Can you talk about the use of agents such as chemotherapy and other available means of reducing pain?
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Antonio, for your question. I think you're talking a little bit about in a scenario of treatment when you have cancer or you need some any kind of medication. Let's generalize, not just the chemotherapies, to other ones as well. So everything we talked here of the useful role of the pain to help us progress and to help us achieve our goal of being a perfect spirit does not exclude or it's complementary with the physical care. So if you are passing through a physical disease that requires you to go to the doctor, to take medications, to do exams, this is something you need to do anyways. But all the spirit's faith and all the praise and asks that we talked here can help in your treatment. And you should always ask protection so that you can have so that you can be resilient with your treatment, so that you can be strong to pass through all of this. So that should be the focus, but should never abandon the chemotherapies and all the other treatments that the material medicine propose you to do. So it's a complement. So thanks for your question. Hope to have addressed it.
Yeah, and I think that's what we can understand from both Denis and the books of Kardec, that we have to accept the situations that we go through and all these kinds of treatments that we take, whether it's homeopathic, allopathic, or whatever, we have to do with good faith. We have to do in a way so that we can make the most of the situation, of the scenario that we're going through, both in understanding it and otherwise, if we rebel against it, the medicine's not going to work, is it?
Exactly that. What makes us progress is not the pain for the pain, but the way we handle the pain and how we learn from it. Right? If you have the pain, but you're reluctant, you don't have faith, you don't believe it can have a utility for you. That's not something that's going to be a lesson learned. So you probably need to pass through this all over so that you can take the learnings from that.
Absolutely. And I can talk about this from a personal perspective because I actually live with chronic pain. I have many days where I can't even walk. Not many people know this, but this is how it is for me. And using Spiritism, I can understand that this happens for a reason. If I was to complain about it all the time, I'm not going to get anywhere. If I accept that I may need to take some kind of treatment, some kind of spiritual treatment as well, some way to elevate myself above the pain, to understand, is there something that I'm supposed to be learning from this? And you mentioned something in this, a quote from Denis, that if in the hours of trials, we actually worked with ourselves to understand this how, why, what we can learn, because the goal is to progress physically and spiritually. The Spirit's book teaches us this. We have this hierarchy. We're still quite low down. We need to progress somehow. We're not going to do that if we're just going to sit around complaining. So, yeah, we have to just get on with our lives and enjoy it as much as we can. Okay. We don't have any other questions. I don't have any other questions. Do you have any last considerations for us?
Well, I would like to thank you all. I think I am the one that most benefit from this study, as any other study. It's always amazing when you sit down to learn and study and read. Would strongly recommend the reading of those two last chapters of Léon Denis' book uh, of, of of Life and Destiny. So I think it's very different to listen us talking and read it. I read this book when I was recovering from a liver disease I had in 2019, and it personally helped me a lot. It was super important for giving me strength and an understanding of the overall situation. Um, and um, and yeah, I think you should have the big takeaway for me of all the discussion we had is that we are stronger than we believe, and that we have several very good spirits around us that really help us, and that really they're really there for supporting us. So in all the moments we have pain and hard time, we should leverage this thing that's in us, and also count and rely on those spirits that are our friends to pass through anything. So anything that God knows our strength, so He knows what He can put on our for us to carry. So He's never going to put something that we cannot handle. So we need to have faith that we are able to handle the toughest problems, the toughest challenges, and always try to analyze and step back and see what's the reason that I'm passing through that. Why is that? And this can give you answers, and this can give you hope, and always rely on people that are around you, but also the spirits that are our friends that help us in the tough moments. So thanks a lot for trusting me and assuming the risk of calling me tonight. I hope I was able to pass a little bit of my studies to you all. I'm available to answer and address any additional questions later on. And I wish you all best.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. I'll put you back on backstage right now, but don't go away. I'll come and talk to you at the very end. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and also just to remind that the main book that Daniel was talking about just then is The Problem of Life and Destiny. And we had with us two guests talking about that during this event. So on the event from May, we had Roberto Watanabe talking about the first part of the book. And on the 5th of June, we had Munir Gariba talking about the second part of that book. So The Problem of Life and Destiny by Léon Denis. Well, friends, that is it. Just leaves me to give once more a big thank you to Daniel Steagall for being with us, to the British Union of Spiritist Societies for organising this event, for the Irish Spiritist Federation, Kardec Radio and Kardec Group for transmitting the event, and thank all of you who've been with us today. Now, don't forget, I'll be back with you on the 11th of December, along with all those previous speakers from this year, with this closing round table, is how we're going to put it. A nice round table where you can pose all of your questions from any of the works of Léon Denis. And also, I have to say this, don't forget that in 2 weeks' time, Spiritism X 2021 will be here, and we hope to see you there. So thank you for being with us. Keep safe, and I'm very sure that I'll see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.